Hi, boys and girls. All right, let's review our vocabulary. Remember, mystery, a puzzle, something that must be solved. Custom, the way people in a certain part of the country do something. Culture, the way people in a country do something. Prince, a boy whose father someday will be king. Kaleidoscope, remember we learned that yesterday. It's like an old-fashioned toy where it has the pieces of glass. You can look at the light and make pictures. And then react. React is a verb that means how we react to something. For instance, sometimes we have to react quickly. If we hear a fire alarm, we have to react very quickly. We have to jump up, get in line, and go do what we're supposed to. So today we're going to see how our characters will react. All right, today we're going to continue with The Kidnapped King by Ron Roy. Chapter 5. The next morning, Dink washed his hands and his face, then he tapped on Sammy's bedroom door. "Rise and shine," Dink said. "We're having pancakes and sausages for breakfast." There was no answer. Dink opened the door and pushed in. Sammy's bed was mussed, but he wasn't in it. "Sammy," Dink said, glancing around the empty room. Where could he be? Dink wondered as he headed downstairs. "Mom, Sammy's not in his room," Dink said. Dink's mother stopped spooning pancake batter into a frying pan. "He's not? Where is he?" "I don't know, Mom." Dink shoved open the back door and looked around the yard. "Not out here either," he said. As Dink pulled the door shut again, his hand struck something sharp. "Mom, look at this," he yelled. The wood around the door lock was shattered. Jagged slivers of wood stuck out. A few wood splinters lay on the floor under Dink's feet. Okay, I'm going to synthesize here. Dink can't find Sammy. The door is broken. I think that someone came into the house during the night and may have kidnapped Sammy. All right, so that means there's going to be a crime to solve in this mystery. And remember that the crime and the mystery might actually be the problem. "Oh my goodness," his mother said. "Someone forced the door open." She turned and hurried up the hall stairs. Dink followed his mom into the guest room. "Sammy," his mom called. "Sammy, please answer. If you're hiding, please come out." But Sammy didn't answer. "I'm calling Officer Fallon," Dink's mother said, "and Joan Clinker. Why don't you run next door and find out if Ruth Rose's family saw anything?" And here's a picture of Dink looking at the shattered door. Dink charged down the stairs and out of the house. He tore into Ruth Rose's yard and banged his fist on her door. Ruth Rose opened it, munching on a piece of toast. "Have you seen Sammy?" Dink asked out of breath. She shook her head. "Why? Is he missing?" "Yes," Dink said. "Someone broke in. Sammy's gone." "What?" Ruth Rose yelled. "You mean he was kidnapped?" Suddenly, Dink heard a siren. He left Ruth Rose with toast in her hand and raced back to his front yard. A police cruiser roared around the corner and whipped into his driveway. Cruiser's a fancy word for car. As the siren died, Officer Fallon and Keene burst out the car. Dink's mother came flying out of the house. Her face was white. "Thank goodness you came," she told the officers. "I think our house guest has been kidnapped." Just then, a yellow taxi pulled up in front of Dink's house. The rear door flew open and Joan Clinker climbed out. "What has happened to Sammy?" she called, running across the front yard. "We don't know," Dink's mother said. "He's not in the house, and the lock on our back door has been forced open." Joan Clinker put her hand to her mouth. She swayed, then she started to topple. Officer King caught her just before she fell, so she almost fainted. She's so upset. "Bring her inside," Dink's mother said, running for the front door. "Take a look around," Officer Fallon told Officer King. Then he helped Dink's mother take Joan Clinker into the house. Ruth Rose appeared through the hedge that separated their yards. She was dressed in blue bib overalls, a blue shirt, and blue high-top sneakers. "Is Sammy really gone?" she asked Dink. "This isn't a joke, is it?" Dink shook his head. His mouth was so dry he could hardly swallow. "I think it's real," he said, remembering what Sammy had told them about his father's enemies. "But how could anyone just walk in and take him?" Ruth Rose asked. "Our back door lock is busted," Dink said. "They must have gotten in that way." Ruth Rose's mom and dad joined them as Dink explained. "Let's all search the street," Ruth Rose's dad suggested. He went to organize the neighbors. Just then, Josh arrived with his dog. "What's going on, Dinkus?" he asked. "Why is the cruiser here?" "Sammy is gone," Dink said. "We think he's been kidnapped." Josh's mouth dropped open. Then he grinned. "This is a joke, right?" Dink shook his head. "Come on, I'll show you where the kidnappers broke the kitchen door." Dink started for the front steps, but before he reached the door, it opened. Joan Clinker and Dink's mother stepped out. Are you sure you're all right, Joan? Dink's mother asked. Won't you stay for a little while? Joan Clinker shook her head. I have to make some phone calls, she muttered. Then she hurried into the cab and it pulled away. That poor woman, Dink's mom said, heading back to the kitchen. As Dink climbed the porch stairs, something shiny caught his eye. He bent down and picked up a small piece of yellow glass. What's that? Ruth Rose asked. Dink stared at the yellow sliver. He remembered where he'd seen others just like it. This came out of Sammy's kaleidoscope, he said. And that's where we're going to end. And you see that here he is showing Ruth Rose the sliver that he found. Okay, so this mystery is definitely developing, okay? So the door being busted is an important clue that something bad has happened. And why did Dink's mom call the police? Well, because they know that his parents are kidnapped. We know there's probably crime. Joan Clinker almost fainted, probably because she's so upset because she's supposed to take care of Sammy. And then why is this yellow piece of glass a clue? Well, we know that it came out of Sammy's kaleidoscope, but we'll read more about that next week. I hope you've enjoyed the story. Thanks for listening.